Hi, this is Rick from OpusEvent.com, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to set up your rooms and time slots. So it's really three things: it's buildings and rooms and time slots. And this is a key area that you need to set up before you can actually schedule your contest. It's usually the first thing that you would do when you're getting ready to schedule. So what I'm going to be working with here today is a sample contest that I have set up. That's actually a copy of one of the Oregon Music Educators solo ensemble contests. But the same thing is going to apply to anything if you're from any of the other states that are using our products. So let me go ahead and sign in first with my Opus Event account. And notice I'm signing into contest.opusevent.com. Okay. And for selecting my contest, I'm going to do a quick search here on OMEA. And this is the one I'm going to use, OMEA District 0 testing. So I'll go ahead and select that contest. As soon as I select the contest, I'm on my own personal homepage. I have some test entries in here and a couple of schools that I've added. But we don't need any of this. We're contest managers. So where you find the time slots and rooms is under setup, rooms and time slots. And this will be the main page that we're working with today. Now, I haven't set up anything yet for this particular contest. So we're setting something up from scratch. We have no buildings shown over here. We have no rooms, no time slots. And we start by adding a building. And we can go ahead and click there. We can also click on the new building in the tree view right here. And a building consists of a name. We'll just call this a main building. It can optionally have a number and a description. This could be the big building in the middle. Whatever you want to call it. Notice here on all the fields that you have, if there's an asterisk next to it, so a name asterisk, that means it's a required field. If there's no asterisk, it's an optional field. And the other thing I would like to point out here is that the building name, well, this is what's on the schedules that are emailed out to everybody, to your teachers, directors, the entries themselves, your accompanists, your judges. Everybody is going to see that building name. They won't necessarily see the number and the description. That's for internal use only. Anytime we add new data or edit data, we need to save it. And notice now that we have a main building up here. We could go ahead and add another building. A second building on campus, and we can put a number to this, and this is, maybe this is a music building. So we can add as many buildings as we want. What I've seen in past years is if you have a kind of a smaller to an average size contest, maybe upwards of 200 or 300 entries, maybe 400, you might very well just be in one building. If you're a state level contest with several thousand entries, yeah, you're going to have multiple buildings around campus. And so you can also edit these buildings. Second building edited, and go ahead and save it and it'll change the name. So go ahead and make whatever changes you need. If you no longer want a building anymore, we can delete that building just by clicking on it over here in the tree view, and then clicking on delete and confirming that we don't want it there anymore. And now it's gone. So that's buildings. Start by creating all of your buildings that you may need and giving them a name that the solo ensemble entrants can recognize and know how to get to. Okay, and then as you're editing the building, up on the upper right, here's your next level. And there's a new room icon. So we can go ahead and add a new room within this building. And you'll want to go through and add all of your rooms. And this may be the choir room. And the number on it, and this is what is shown on the schedules. Maybe it's room number 412. And you don't have to have a description. So notice now it's starting to build a what's called a tree view. So you can use this little plus and minus to expand and collapse. We go back to our main building and we can add another one. Let's call this the band room. And this is room 415. So you can see that you can go through each one of your buildings and go ahead and add all of the rooms that you're going to have in your contest. Some people would go in and call this something like, if we have a new room, this could be the flute room. Or we could call it Woodwinds number 1. And it's room number 502. And then we can have a Woodwinds number 2. That's 504. So you can name your rooms in any way that you want, what their function is or what their physical name is. Whatever you've done in the past that's worked well for you, keep doing it. Just know that this number is what appears on the schedules for which room a particular individual or an accompanist is assigned to. Okay, once we get past the rooms, we can go, I'm editing Woodwinds number 1, and now look, we have a new time slot, and that's our 3rd level that we need to add. So I'm going to create a new time slot. And the time slot, now you can give it a name. So I'm going to give this, I'm going to just say this is my flutes time slot. The increment, how many minutes for each performance? I'm going to go 10. And I see anything from, I see some contests that are down in the 6-minute range. I don't know how they do that fast, but 6-minute range up to state level contests that sometimes are 15 to 20 minutes long for the time slots. You need to choose which day it is, and this particular contest is set up as a single day contest. So I only have one choice. And the contest is set up from 8 until 5 p.m. And so that's what the start and the end time default to. But just for the heck of it, I'm going to go ahead and change this to 12 p.m. And I want to show you something really quick about entering times. You can enter them right from the keyboard. So if I want to put in 12 p.m., I can go 1200 and hit enter, or I hit tab, and that'll interpret that as 12 p.m. If I put in, and unfortunately you have to enter it in military time if you want to do it quick, but if I put in 1500, that's 3 p.m. If I put in 1000, it's 10 a.m. So you can either go ahead and click the time button here and use these little spinners to do it, or you can manually enter it. Either way works. Okay, so a time slot consists of a name, an increment in minutes, a day, a start and an end, and then a judge that is assigned. And here's the judges that I have set up. Normally you'd see their name in here. I just called them judge number 1 and judge number 2. Finally, you can choose whether or not you want to prioritize eligible or prioritize not eligible. And the eligible here refers to, are they eligible for a state level contest? And typically, like if someone is coming in and they do an entry and they've chosen to do it for comment only, they would not be eligible. And so you can optionally say, well, here's all the flutes that are actually competing, and maybe you have another room that has flutes for just comment only. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save that time slot. So I save it, and look, and my tree view has expanded a little more. Now I've got, under Woodwinds 1, I have a time slot from 8 to 12 p.m. And if I click on that, it brings it up for editing. And there's some new information down below that wasn't there before. And it's the time slot items and the reserved time slots. And let me show you what those do. And these two are the final level that we need to do for setting up our contest, or setting up our contest structure. We can go ahead and add items. And items in this case, I'm in a instrumental contest. They're just the instruments. If it was a vocal contest, you'd see the different voices. So I'm going to click New to add a new one, and it'll pull up a list of all of the time slots or all of the instruments that are applicable for this particular contest. And I'm going to pick flute. And you can also optionally prioritize these, because you can have multiple instruments scheduled in one time slot. So who gets first pickings? Who's scheduled first in here? And I don't mean first from a time perspective, meaning who starts at the beginning of the morning first. No, it's who gets priority. Who are we going to schedule in randomly into the time slot? Who are we going to schedule first? So I'll just leave this at a priority 1. We'll look at a real life set of priorities in a little bit. So here we have a time slot from 8 until noon on the first day of the contest, which is going to support the flutes. All right, let's do a second time slot in that same room. So I'm in Woodwinds 1. I'm going to do another time slot, and I'm going to say this is from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and assign the same judge. I'm going to call this double reads. And again, 10-minute increments. I'll save it. Now that it's saved, it'll come up and I can add my double reads. So I'm going to go ahead and add my oboe. And I'll add bassoon. Okay, so now oboes and bassoons, any that have applied, will be scheduled in from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. They'll be intermixed. And if we have a combination of oboes, if we have too many oboes and bassoons that to fill or to fit in this time slot, some will not be scheduled if there's not room. And we don't know if those would be oboes or bassoons or both. All right. If you want to change the priority on this, you say, well, we really want to get bassoons in, so we're going to leave them priority 1. We're going to give oboes a priority 2, which means it will make sure that oboes are only scheduled in this time slot if all of the bassoons have already been scheduled. Okay, and the last piece is the reserve time slots. From 1 until 5, you probably want to give your judge a break at some point. So let's say that at 3 o'clock, there's a 2 time slot break. You can go ahead and add a new reserve time slot. And we can say that we're going to start at 1400, 2 p.m. And you can still click the little clock here to pull up your spinners if you want to. And we're going to do it for 2 10-minute time slots, and this will be a break. That'll add that break in. And so nothing will be scheduled from 2 o'clock until 2:20. So at 2:20, we'll pick back up again. You can also use these reserve time slots. Let me show you a different way to do it. I'm going to go into Woodwinds 2. I'm going to create a new time slot. And let's just call this, let's call it breath. 10-minute increment. And we're going to run it all day. And we're going to assign judge number 2. We add a couple of items in here. we'll have, let's start with the tubas. They never get to go first. Okay, so we'll add tuba, we'll add trumpet, we'll add one more, trombone maybe. Now, for your reserve time slots, you can say at 10 o'clock in the morning for 2 time slots, we have a break. We can also add from at noon for 6 time slots, a whole hour, we have lunch. And then at 3 o'clock for 2 time slots, we have another break. So this room is going to be full of intermixed tubas, trumpets, and trombones, with no guarantees that any one of them will be able to be fully scheduled in this room. And we've got an afternoon break, a morning break, and lunch. Okay, let me see if there's anything else I wanted to show you. You know, I think that pretty much does it. Your goal here is to, before you get to the screen, is be sure and have a list of your buildings, what they're called, have a list of your rooms and how they're numbered and how you want to name them. And then what I usually recommend for the time slots is go look what you did last year. How much time did you need for flutes? How much time did you need for clarinets or sopranos, altos, however you're doing it. And really start there and set up the time slots with your best guess. What will happen then later on when you schedule is you'll find out if you have any problems. The system will tell you, hey, you need more room in flutes, or you have way more room than you need for tenors. And you can recover some of that and put something else in that room. But we'll get to that in another video. I just wanted to make sure that you understood how to set up the buildings, the rooms, and the time slots. And before I go, I want to show you one more thing in the setup that pertains to the schedule and the rooms and the buildings and the time slots. And so I'm going to go to contest settings. And in contest settings, I'm going to go to scheduling, right there in the middle. And here in contest scheduling, it says, well, we need to know the number of minutes between scheduled entries. So for entries, right now we're saying for an entry, they need 10 minutes in between scheduled items. So if they perform at 8 a.m., they could perform in the same room again at 8:20. They perform for 10, then they wait for 10, then they can go again. Same with accompanist. But look out here, if they have to go to a different building, we can set this and say, no, they really need 20 minutes to be able to walk across campus, get to the other building, get into the other room. If you really want to schedule things tight, like for accompanists, you can go in and you say, no, if they're in the same room for 2 different entries, yeah, we're going to let them play back to back. And in a different room, maybe we give them a time slot to get down there, give them 10 minutes. In a different building, well, maybe your buildings are real close together and you can make that 10 minutes. So here's how you can determine, help tell the scheduling routine, how much time are you giving for accompanists, same room, different building, and for entries, same room, different building. You don't have to worry about the teacher directors. We don't have that implemented yet. We may in the future, but for teachers, we do our best in the scheduling routine to try and see if we can get the teacher to be available for all of the students that teacher created. But some of these teachers have got a lot of entries, and In that case, we just can't schedule everyone for one teacher to be able to get to all their kids, but we do our best. Anyway, that's all I've got for rooms and time slots, and I encourage you to go into your event, your contest, and go ahead and start setting up your buildings, rooms, and time slots. Thanks.